Underway. Again, welcome to everybody to our Lunch and Learn series. We're happy you could join us and looking forward to a nice session today. Just a quick overview of what we're doing and some housekeeping notes. Uh, as Unanet partners and for those that are just joining us for the first time, as Unanet partners and implementers and trainers and users, we like to utilize these bi-weekly lunch and learns to kind of share our insight and help the Unanet AE community to utilize the software to the fullest. So that's what these are all about. We try to focus on one theme at a time as far as the presentation goes, but we're happy to answer questions for just about anything pertaining to Unanet as well. So just some housekeeping notes. Feel free to ask questions during the presentation just to keep things organized and in order. If maybe you could raise your virtual hand if you had a question or enter the question in the chat, then we can get to those during the presentation. And then as always, we'll have follow-up time after the presentation to answer as many questions as we can as possible. And if we run out of time, we'll be able to answer your questions after as well, either in an email or contacting you too. As always, this is being recorded and we'll send the recording as soon as it's available later today or tomorrow. And then last but not least, if you have any feedback on today's presentation or any suggestions for future topics that you'd like to see discussed, please email me. My email is at the bottom of the screen there, tcower@4oasllc.com. And we'd love to hear your feedback and any suggestions to make these as practical and as beneficial as possible. All right, with that out of the way, we have a very unique and good topic today. We're going to be talking about the Unanet Data Lake and combined with Power BI, a very interesting topic that we're a lot of looking forward to. Our presenters today, we actually have two presenters. We have Paul Natalizio and Courtney Drews, both with OAS. Paul's vice president with OAS, and Courtney is senior ERP consultant with OAS, and both very knowledgeable when it comes to the data lake and the Power BI tools as well. So we look forward to the presentation, and without further ado, we'll turn it over to you, Paul and Courtney.
All right, so I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes. We can.
Perfect. Yeah. All right, so like Tim said, Paul and I will be presenting on Unanet Data Lake and Microsoft Power BI today. So what is Unanet Data Lake? Unanet AE Data Lake allows you to use your business intelligence tools with your AE data. So the data available to you through Data Lake is a near real-time read replica of your production data in Unanet, ensuring that your data is safe, no updates or deletes are possible. The Unanet Data Lake service allows existing Unanet customers to securely gain read-only access to their system. So why would I need Unanet Data Lake? The ability to mine this data allows companies to visualize the areas of their business that are doing well, the areas that need attention, or both. So some possibilities include creating custom metric dashboards in Tableau, actionable reports from Microsoft Power BI, or even using a program you've written in Java, .NET, etc. to leverage real-time data in your system to make critical decisions for your business. Since these tools typically have access to other data, you can combine your Unanet data with data from other systems to get an even bigger picture of your overall business health. How it works, there are three main components required to make Data Lake work for you. The first is your Unanet database. The data itself comes from a read replica of your actual production data, so you will always have the freshest, most up-to-date data as possible. And since it's a replica, your Data Lake queries will not impact your transactional database. The second is Datalake, which is a middle tier service powered by data virtuality, which will evaluate your credentials and authenticate you. It also controls what data you are allowed to see. It's important to note that you will never connect directly to your database, only to Datalake itself. Once authenticated, the service will determine who you are and what data you can access. The third is a business intelligence tool of your choice. So once you've provisioned one like Power BI or Tableau, you can connect to this last tier. And all it does is authenticate you, give you access, and you can begin building out any kind of reports or visualizations that you want. You can also use any other softwares that aren't Tableau or Power BI. You just have to make sure it's either an ODBC or JDBC connector. So Unanet handles the first two, so your BI tool is all you need to configure. Like I said, we're going to go over Microsoft Power BI today. So what is it? It's an interactive data visualization software product developed by Microsoft with a primary focus on business intelligence. So Power BI is a collection of software services, apps, and connectors that work together to turn various sources of data into static or interactive data visualizations. All right, Paul, do you want to go ahead and get into the demo?
Sure. Let me just, I'll just share my screen here. We're going to primarily focus on Microsoft Power BI Desktop. It's the version that is available with Microsoft Office 365 so you don't need an additional subscription. There is a pro version that we'll see later on that I don't have the pro version, but you can see where there's limitations. But overall, it's a lot of capability in the Power BI. The Data Lake program itself is not outwardly demoable. It's just a simple setup. It's a middle, like Courtney said, it's a middle tier piece of software. It just sits between your Unanet database and the Power BI. And so what you should see on your screen now is just the initial Power BI screen. I just logged in, and what I want to do is just walk through what you would see when you were creating your first Power BI, and kind of what steps you take to link to your Unanet data. And then I'm going to show you a couple of simple dashboards that we've put together for this presentation and the capabilities within Power BI itself. So it's some of the features in Power BI. The features of Tableau or other business intelligence softwares will vary, but just kind of open your mind to see what can be done in these business intelligence products. So once you're in Power BI, you can actually create a new blank report, a new Power BI desktop dashboard here. And what you'll get is you will get this, and you'll be able to then click on Get Data, where you're going to access the data and click on More. So what you'll get here is a listing of all different types of databases and data sources that you can get connected to. And in our case, as Courtney mentioned, the ODBC connection is the connection that we're going to use. So we're going to click on the ODBC, and we're going to be able to see the Unanet connection that we created when we installed Data Lake. And when we click through here, we'll also see, what you'll see on the screen is you'll see the demo database that I'm connecting to, Casco and Wilson. If you had this product, you would see your own database under here as well. Like right now, it's going to say the partners database, which is the demo database. It'll find that under data virtuality, which is the Data Lake product. here's the partner database, and here's all of the tables that are in your Unanet database. Okay, so everything that if you're familiar with the table structure, you know, the project facts table, the projects table, where you can see all the different projects, and this just gives you a sample because the demo database is large, but it gives you an example of the codes and stuff. And if you're familiar with Casco and Wilson database, you'll recognize these projects. And if you're familiar with the data dictionary, like the project facts table, and all the different fields in here, like the project manager, employee IDs, and the project accountant, and the partner in charge employee IDs, all that information that's captured in Unanet is readily available to you in Power BI using the Datalake function. Okay, you can see all these, you can see the previews, and this is where you could add multiple databases to your table. You can check the box and add project facts or projects, and you can also search if you know what table you're looking for, like a sales table. You know, you're looking for the sales table, the sale items, or the receipts tables, that's the information that you're looking for. Or if you're looking for an employee table, you know, you can simply search and get that information and be able to select that to include in your database, in your dashboard. Okay. If you're familiar, and everybody here is familiar with the Unanet, I'm just going to switch into Unanet and just point out that under the utilities menu, under the reports menu, there is a data dictionary report, which will give you all of these, all the tables, just like we saw in Datalake. We saw all the tables. This will give you an explanation, more explanation of what each field is. So if you're looking at the projects table, or you were looking at the projects facts table, you know, you'd be able to see and understand that the PA employee ID means the project accountant. The partner in charge is the PIC employee ID, et cetera. So you can use the data dictionary that's within Unanet, AE, and then be able to understand what you're seeing in Power BI, because you see those same tables. For purposes of the demonstration, I'm just going to click into a dashboard, Power BI dashboard that I've created for purposes of this demonstration. It's an hours analysis dashboard. Simple dashboard that you can create with simple pie charts, simple, not using a lot of different data tables and stuff like that, where you can see the capabilities of what you can do with Power BI. So right now I have a simple sum of work hours by charge type. I've got a breakdown of billable hours in the light blue, indirect hours in the darker blue. There are some planned hours. That's a very small sliver of this database. And then in the bottom data grid that I have here, I have a lot of just all the detailed information about the hours and the projects and the employees that have entered time into the system. Okay, so right now this is for all employees. Okay, but we can filter that down, and we'll go into that. What I wanted to show you first is you have three tabs on the you have three I guess toolbars along the right-hand side. You've got the data toolbar, the visualizations, and the filters toolbar. So in this case, for the data toolbar includes all of the Unanet tables that I've included in this visualization, in this dashboard. The employees table, projects and project facts, and timesheets and timesheet items, so that I can see everything that I need to know about the sum of work hours by charge type. And for this pie chart, I've simply used two fields. I've used the work hours on my timesheets, all the work hours, and I've used the charge type on the project facts, which goes into the project, tells me whether it's billable, an indirect project, or a planned project. that's it. And I was able to create this visualization using the visualizations tab. So that you can see that. And then in the visualizations tab, okay, you can see that you've got a whole host of different ways to analyze this data. Pie charts, bar charts, column charts. I mean, you can have donut charts here where you can, have different things. You can have, what's it, the funnel chart. I mean, you just simply by clicking and changing what the visualization is, you can flip around and, immediately change how users can, interpret, can understand your data. And not to be outdone, Microsoft has, an online capability as well, where you could go online and download other different chart types. If you're interested in the gauges that you see in the analytic dashboard, you wanted to see a gauge chart, you can include that. You've got bubble charts and scatter charts. You can select many different types. So really, the sky's the limit. It's what anybody online had an idea for and they shared it. You can see all different types of charts to make that data, to allow your users to understand what exactly they're seeing on your dashboard. Okay. So that's the different visualizations that you can see, and then the other thing that you can see here are the filters. So right now I've created different filters, and I'm going to focus on, you can have filters on a particular part of your dashboard, which is filters on this visual. You can have a filter on this entirety of this page, or you can have filters on all pages. And you can see at the bottom, I've got multiple pages on this dashboard. I've got multiple pages, and we'll go into each one. But what you can see here is if I look at this and I say, I only want to see for one employee like Louis Casco, I can see all of his time, billable, indirect, and planned time for all time, because I also have a filter on period code. So I can drop this down and say, I only want to see his time for a particular period, October of 2024. I can see in here, I can come in here and see all the different billable hours and indirect hours, and then individual time. What did he spend on Back Cove? Just that little bit of time on Back Cove versus, 120 hours on the Test Not to Exceed project that's in the demo data. So you can see just by clicking in, it will highlight the information that's in here. So if I pull how much vacation time he took, he took all the vacation time. That was pretty much all of his indirect time for that period of time during October of 2024. So you can drill into each one of these pieces. You can drill into the pie chart to only pull in, there's 1 hour of admin time that you could barely see because it was just such a small sliver, but he did have 1 hour of admin time during October as well. You wouldn't be able to see that, but when you click on that piece of the pie chart, you were able to zoom in, it was able to drill down and clearly show you what that represents. And then obviously this is all the billable time that's represented there. Okay. So, this is just one tab of this entire dashboard that's created. So, if I'm just going to continue moving through. So if there are any questions, Tim, just, let me know. But what I've done is I've created multiple tabs on this dashboard. So you have a direct versus indirect, and then I can look at indirect analysis. So I'm just going to clear this out. So you can see this is an indirect analysis page. So I've got I've made this into, I've used a filter on this to just pull indirect hours on this page. So any hours that are marked on projects that are indirect projects is reflected on this page. So what you can see here is you can see that you've got multiple employees over all time, because I unrestricted the period code and the employee code and the employee name. So I've got all employees, and I can see very clearly using this type of chart, you know, who are my billable workers and who is my admin staff. You know, these people, or maybe they're like George Hernandez, they're working on business development, because that's the purple. You know, so business development, he's doing mostly business development. He's not billable. He's only billable part of the time, because again, this is only showing indirect time. So you've got someone like Sharon, who's probably fully, probably a fully admin staff, no billable hours, versus, you know, Dwight, who's got very few, you know, took 8 hours of vacation over the entirety of all the periods that are reflected in Casco and Wilson. And again, the same features hold true. So you can click on Louis Casco and you can see what time he spent on indirect time, and you can see by just moving your mouse over 144 hours of vacation, 24 hours of holiday, 25 hours of civic duty, 147 of business development, and 1,100 of just admin time. Okay. And you can also pull the period code. So if you wanted to see like 2022-12, you know, you can see that during the course of December of 2022, took some vacation time, some holiday time, and some admin time. And in here, you can see all of the detail in the grid here, along with the actual day and date, month and day and year. We know it's 2022 in December. That's because we selected that period. But you can see actually what day, and it's reflected in that exact timesheet. So a lot of information here in just one little area, and by giving the ability to filter, you know, and highlighting on particular people, you'd be able to you'd be able to analyze and compare, especially if you run all the employees. You know, you say, I just want to see who was spending time on admin time or on indirect time during the month of December. You'd be able to see that right here and be able to see it at a glance. Okay. And if you pull in, you know, if you sort this and you pull in like Teresa Cruz's vacation time or something like that, and you highlight one line item in this data grid, it will highlight that one piece of the bar chart. In the last case, it was the pie chart. In this case, it's a bar chart. So you can clearly see where that falls into the grand scheme of all of the time in here. So if you were looking for something in particular, you can highlight it here. You know, Mary Kinney's hours, that's over here. You know, that's her vacation. You know, so you can see exactly. It will highlight exactly what you've highlighted in this data grid. So I'm just gonna highlight George Hernandez just for purposes of let me just clear that one, and I just want to show you that you can do multiple periods. So if you needed to show it over the summer or something like that, or you know, Q1, Q2, something like that, you can select multiple filters in here. You can obviously select multiple people as well. So you can break this down and see, you know, what did George spend on business development? Oh, okay, you know, he spent time in July. Let me scroll over, you know, the week of right after the 4th of July, this week, and most of his time was spent on business development. He took some vacation time. at the end of June, beginning of July, and the admin time was split over, was mostly in June that he had admin time, and mostly in July was he doing his business development. He didn't do any business development in June at all. But that's the kind of information that you can capture by using these filters and filtering it down to a particular period, particular employee. And moving forward to the billable, like we had an indirect analysis, now we're going to do billable analysis. So this is going to analyze the billable hours. And what I want to mention is you've got filters on all pages here. So right now, George Hernandez we're looking at George Hernandez's time for these two periods. When I click to billable analysis, I get only George Hernandez's billable hours for this period of time. So immediately you can see, oh, when he wasn't doing business development and was on vacation, he was working on Back Cove Pedestrian Bridge. So like immediately you can flip back and forth and see what was billable, what was not billable, just at a glance. What you see here in the billable analysis is a tree graph, and I'm just going to clear out here so that this looks a lot better. It looks a lot better when you've got a lot more information. So this is I believe it's called a tree map. Just to give you an idea of different types of charts that you might have, that you might be interested in using on your dashboards. You can see here at a glance, $1 Million Bridge is, your largest project over all time. You've spent most of your hours on $1 Million Bridge. You spent a lot of hours on Back Cove, fewer hours on Sailors Bay, Dunder Mifflin, KPS, New Brewery, the Test, the Beach, the Pine Bluffs, the Old Port. All of this information you can see just at a glance here, that you can see approximately how much time that you spent. And then within this, you can see Louis Casco spent most of the hours. The most hours that were spent on $1 Million Bridge were spent by Louis Casco. And again, it works the same way as the other dashboards. If I click on George Hernandez, I'll click on Richard Wilson, excuse me, that it will drill down and it will show you exactly what the sum of hours. Now, I have this as the sum of hours, but if you had this in more detail, you might be able to see, exactly what timesheets Richard Wilson spent on $1 Million Bridge. Or if you wanted to pick a particular period code or something like that, how much time did he spend on it? Let's see, I don't know if he spent, in 2023, we would be able to see for the entirety of 2023, I selected all of 2023, I can see that he spent 72 hours in 2023 on $1 Million Bridge, because that's the one square that was highlighted here. So again, it's different ways to slice and dice the data, and different ways to be able to visualize that data to get your point across to your audience. Okay. Let me just click on visualization. Oops, didn't want to do that. And then what I also have here is right now I've got the sum of work hours by project name and employee. So it's sorting first by project name and then by employee. But you can actually switch. You can switch these by dragging and dropping, and you can switch so that you can see. And I don't know if you saw it; it was a little sleight of hand there, but just by dragging and dropping and switching, which is the category that it's running and what are the details. I've switched this to say, Louis Casco, what projects has Louis worked on? What projects has Gail worked on, what projects has Mary worked on. So you can see the breakdown of that very, very clearly. And you can see that Lewis, due to the fact that his square is the largest square, he spent the most billable hours during 2023 versus the other people who spent fewer total hours over the course of the year. But you can see the breakdown of Louis Casco was primarily working on $1 Million Bridge, while Gail Stanwyck was working on Back Cove along with Mary Kinney. So you can see who's working on which projects and how much time they're allocating to each project, or that they worked on each project, just at a glance, without having to run through a ton of different reports. And that was simply by swapping these two fields and going from project and then detail to employee, to switching to employee and detail by project. And that's already set to all. I'm going to clear that. And the last tab that I've created for this particular demonstration on this one for hours analysis is a WIP, work in process. So again, using the same data set, I'm using the same 5 tables. I'm using the same filters on all pages. I could have a different filter on a particular page, or in this case, I have on the particular visual. Like, I've built this as a particular visual. Like, I've told the system, only give me ready to bill or hold transactions, because this is a WIP. This is a WIP dashboard. This is a WIP visual that I don't need to know the stuff that's already been billed or that's written off or whatever. I just need to know what's ready to bill or on hold. And I put it on the particular visual, but I could have just as easily put it on the entire page. So the entire page, this page would reflect only ready to bill or hold time.
Hey,
Okay.
Paul, sorry
And
to
again,
interrupt. We have a
yeah,
couple of
yeah,
questions
of
if you
course.
want to.
Sure.
The first one is from Elliot. Whoops, I just lost it. Is the Datalake connector a subscription product? The PDF technical brief I found shows available for GovCon products, but not AE product.
I mean, it's definitely AE. I don't know the pricing off the top of my head, but I think it's a user-based subscription, but we can get that information. I don't have the, I'm not on the sales side, so I don't know what the cost is, but it is available for Unanet. This is all Unanet AE data.
Yeah, and Courtney answered as well there, just saying that it is available for AE, and your Unanet CSM will be able to provide, an actual cost and help you get it set up as well. Another
Great.
one is, other than the ability to combine different data sources, what are the advantages over this versus Unanet dashboards?
It's just a, well, we'll get into that. We'll get into that at some point in this demonstration, but with Power BI, with the Microsoft product that I'm demoing, you can take this information and you can incorporate it into Word documents or PowerPoint presentations with your live quote unquote, your Unanet, that snapshot data, and you'd be able to actually manipulate the data using your filters in your PowerPoint presentation. And that'll be something coming up as well. This is also shareable outside of Unanet. So if you have people have their dashboards, analytic dashboards in Unanet, you can build them directly in Unanet. You could use the query builder in Unanet to build the queries, to build the analytic dashboards, to have that. This is another tool, and I don't want to call it more robust than the analytic dashboard, because the analytic dashboard in Unanet does a lot. but there's something to be said about dragging and dropping and being able to manipulate pie charts and drill down into pie charts that you may not have that capability in Unanet. Given the choice, like if you're comfortable with the analytic dashboards in Unanet, I would say max out everything in your Unanet AE dashboards. If you're comfortable manipulating and query building in the analytic dashboards in Unanet, go with it. But if you, inevitably you will come up with well, I'd love to be able to do this, this, or this, and that just may not be a capability of the Unanet AE dashboard, but it may be something that, Power BI could, allow you to do, or a different visualization, or a different drill down, or something that you may not be able to get in Unanet AE analytic dashboards. This is that next step in the evolution of analytic dashboards.
Another question, is this only available through the desktop version?
So I don't know if I understand completely, but it's connecting to your database as a whole. So you probably need to be in the desktop if you want to be able to look through like the data dictionary, unless someone sends that to you offline. But you really don't need to use
the desktop version.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, you don't technically need the desktop to use the data lake connection and create these in Power BI, but I feel like you'd probably want to be in the desktop version to look at some stuff.
Right.
Really
I mean, because analytic dashboards in Unanet are available on the web version, like, that means you could, if you were only in the web version of Unanet, you'd be able to distribute those dashboards out to users through the analytic dashboard. This is a separate tool, and the Power BI is the license. The simple license lets you doesn't let you necessarily share the dashboard to multiple users. You need the pro license to really share across. So if you want people to just be able to use the web version, you could stick with analytic dashboards within Unanet, because those are shareable to the web version. You don't need the desktop version for those analytic dashboards. But for this one, for Power BI, it's not. Power BI is a separate piece of software. It's not built into the Unanet interface. It just reads the data and displays it in a separate piece of software.
All right, that answers that. I think we have kind of a request. Lee says, I'm interested in reviewing scheduled hours broken down by available to bill or billable against budget on a fixed fee or not to exceed contract by person and rolled up. In other words, how to determine how much of a person's time is truly billable against the work they are scheduled to perform.
Wow. How much of the time is actually billable versus what they're, yeah, I mean, if the data is in, we can take that offline and just see, but if the data is in Unanet and it's being captured, then there's probably a way to, get that information, sorted in such a way that you can look at it. I'm sorry, I probably should have the Q&A up, but I don't want to be distracted by it while I'm presenting, so I don't have the chat up in the window. But we can definitely take that offline and see if because that seems like something that I haven't actually done. Scheduled hours broken down by available to bill or billable against budget on a fixed fee or not to exceed by person and rolled up. How to determine how much of a person's time is truly billable against the work they are scheduled to perform. Oh, so it's kind of like what a person's completed versus estimate to complete, like what's already been done, and then what's the estimate to complete, and then just kind of see if you're going to go over budget based on what's already been budgeted. We can definitely
as well.
pursue that.
Yeah. Yeah, Lee, we can talk about that some more after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, as I said, we'll just go into this final tab, because this is WIP. This is something that everybody is familiar with. Struggling to understand. What hours are left over that haven't been billed yet. We're using the same data set. We're using. I'm seeing all the period codes. I don't want to limit the period codes. I don't want to limit the employees at this point. I just want to be able to look at this and say, $1 Million Bridge has how much time? Louis Casco, Gail Stanwyck, Richard Wilson, Erwin Fletcher, Mary Kinney, and Teresa Cruz all have hours that are ready to bill that haven't been billed yet, to the tune of 510 hours. So you can click on it and clearly see who's available. You click on something else, and you've got this test project, and you've got Dwight Schrute and Louis Casco, and their hours that need to be billed. So you can see, now I've done this in summary, but again, if we build something that has more detail, where you want to see, well, what did they actually work on, not just that they have these hours. And it's not to say that you couldn't go into, it's not to say that you're not going into Unanet and running PA bill review or PM bill review and looking at these hours and scrutinizing them. Like, you can scrutinize them here, but you're not going to be able to, change it from bill to hold or write it off or anything through this. Again, this is a read-only representation. So, those sort of things that you can see here, you can do much more information. You can do much more activities within Unanet itself. But the idea is that these three pieces can all work together. In the past, I've had two pieces, but if I wanted to look at a particular project or something like Dunder Mifflin, I could click in here, see this project, and I can break it down to see, like, okay, it has ready to bill items, but I can also see right here, it's got all these hours ready to bill, and then this bar chart shows, how many hours. It's a little over 209 hours. The bar chart reflects that. So what you can do here as well is, if you look at, let's say, Back Cove, you can see under Back Cove, they've got almost 100 hours, 96 hours, but some of those are hours that are on hold, maybe from prior months or something like that, versus the stuff that's ready to bill, maybe the hours that they've worked on this month. So by clicking in here, you can see, project by project, you can see, who's got, which project has work in process, ready to bill, or hold. And what I wanted to do here is, you've got multiple employees here, so you can see the different employees. So you could, let's say, filter on a particular employee. Like, you could look and see, like, why, what projects does Louis Casco have that hasn't been billed? And it's like, wow, there's a lot of hours here. What's the problem? Why hasn't Louis billed all these hours, or something like that? Which could be, a point of contention, like you need to know. But by being able to see this very clearly, you're seeing, okay, he's got a lot of hours that need to be billed, versus someone else who is not in that same situation. And these three and the filters, like, all work together. And, we saw in the last one, in the billable analysis, where I was able to take a dash part here, like this list of projects, and I was able to change, like, I changed the chart in the last tab. This time I could change, like, right now it's sorted by project name and bill status, but if I just wanted to swap that, I could simply swap those two and be able to see immediately what projects have hold time and what projects are all ready to bill for this month. You know, so you say, well, ready to bill, I know they're ready to bill. What projects have hold time? And I can see it right here, and I can look at all the hold time, and I can see all the different people who have time on hold, 108 hours of hold time, and I can see all the different employees that have time on hold. And then I can focus on this. Like I know Old Port has time on hold, Back Cove has time on hold, Sailors Bay has time on hold, et cetera. So just by using this, you can see immediately, you know, where is that time. And again, I've limited this to ready to bill or hold, but you could just as easily have this as a write-off, like a write-off dashboard to say what time has been written off during 2025. Boom, like you just have it, and you'd be able to see it by employee, by project, how many hours is it, you know, and be able to see that information at a glance. And once you have this dashboard, now I've got four pages here. In this one dashboard, one file, one Power BI file. So here's where this differs from like analytic dashboard, okay? Because once you have your dashboard, you can publish it. So in Power BI, I can publish this. Now, again, it's a Microsoft product. So I can publish this. I will save my changes. And I can publish this out there. Replace it. And this should pop in here. It's going to publish. And what I'm going to do is, second, open up on my other screen. Not lit, but so what I have here is I have my analysis here, and I've opened it up in Power BI. Selected here. There. And I want a particular so it's clear. So I can see, yeah, here we go. So this is the published version of this dashboard. Now on the left-hand side here, I've got all my pages here, so I can see my WIP page here. And here's the difference between like the basic version of Power BI and like the pro version. Like there's a share button here, and I can't share this unless I have the full license, okay? However, you can share the file that I created in Power BI, this hours analysis. I can share it. I can do a file save, and someone else can open it, but they will also have the ability to change, to actually change the visualization, change the data in it. They would actually be able to make changes to it. Whereas a published version, they give you only filters. Like this is only allowed, like I can take this data and I can change this. And I can say I only want to see, you know, Sailors Bay, and I could see only Sailors Bay, or I could just see like all my ready to bill, so I can have all my hours that are ready to bill. I could limit it to a particular, employee here, but I'm not actually making any change that's going to change the underlying original dashboard. I'm allowing users to play with it and slice and dice it the way that they want to with the filters and everything, and they can look at direct and indirect, you know, but they can't actually mess up my original, the original dashboard that I did. And also what separates this from anything else, you know, because it's a Microsoft product, this is just the desktop version. This is not the pro version, that I can export this to PowerPoint, and it'll save data into your PowerPoint. So if you open PowerPoint, And then you can actually get live data in here, and that live data is available to change. So when I'm in my PowerPoint presentation, I can actually say, let's see what Lewis did. And let's see what he did during October of 2023. And actually click in here, and I'm in a PowerPoint slide, and I have live data that I'm drilling into, that I'm showing, that I'm displaying. And this slide can be incorporated into your slideshow for the board. So, you know, there's a lot of different capabilities in here that you can play with. And I especially like the PowerPoint because you can really take the information that you have and be able to share it in a way that makes it interesting to the people that you're doing the presentation for, that you could really drill down and analyze, even if it's just in a project manager meeting, you know, and you're analyzing utilization or something for people, and you say, well, let's see how, you know, Teresa Cruz did last month, or you know, whatever it is. You can see exactly what time was spent, and you know where they went over budget, or what. You'd be able to see that if you created this and you had it available to you, you know, in front of you know, a group of project managers. I only have, you know, I created a couple of other sample dashboards, like, you know, sales by market sector type reports, where you can have a listing of, you know, of what I did here with, I split this into government work for Casco and Wilson uses market sectors for government, local government, federal government, state government versus, like, you know, non-government work. And, you know, I broke it out where you could see by firm, you could see the different amounts, you know, of sales over a period of time. Like, you know, this is, you know, the period code. So I could pull, you know, a particular period code and see what the sales were during that particular period, and you know, where the sales were. You know, City of Portland on 2 different projects, Back Cove, Casco, Pine Bluff, you know, et cetera, and you can see the breakdown. You know, but those you know, this sort of information that you can just see at a glance: sales, cash receipts, employee information, timesheet information. I didn't pull planning information, but as long as that information is in the Unanet database, then we should be able to report on it in some way, shape, or form. Any other questions for, you know, on the capabilities? I mean, it's a lot to digest in an hour presentation. You know, there's a lot of bells and whistles here, but at the end of the day, you know, there are capabilities in here that an analytic dashboard can't do. And if you've gotten to that point that you've reached the end of the analytic dashboard, or it's something that you'd rather have something where it's, you know, a drag and drop, or you know, it's a little bit more Microsoft-y than a Unanet interface, you know, this could be a solution, because it does have those capabilities, and it will read your live data.
There was one question, Courtney answered it, but I just wanted to, just in case anybody didn't see it in the chat, is Maureen asked, is if I purchase the Datalake connector, does that mean it always contains the most current AE info so I can create a new Power BI report on the fly? And basically, Courtney's answer is yes. It comes as a read replica of your actual production data. So you always have the freshest, most up-to-date data possible when working in the Power BI.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it because it will take longer than we have, left in the call, but you can refresh the data on the fly. So if you do change something in Casco and Wilson, you can refresh the data in Microsoft Power BI. It will read the data, it will read through the ODBC and update it. So, if people are actively making change, or you see there's a data point that's wrong, like Backcove Trail Systems shouldn't be a nonprofit, it should be something else, and you change it, then you save that work and you refresh. It should refresh. I don't know what I won't swear that it's like immediately, but it will refresh that data. I don't know if there's a timing on it or if it just immediately refreshes it, but you will see those changes quickly.
Awesome. Any other questions? Feel free to unmute and can ask Paul or Courtney.
As I said, that's a lot to digest in an hour's time, and I tried to go through it in as much detail as possible, but without overwhelming. So but if you have questions, reach out to Tim, reach out to Courtney or me, and we'll try to answer those questions.
Yeah. And if you're interested in the Datalake subscription, the connector, you can reach out to me as well, and we can help you get the ball rolling, either with our help or Unanet's help, your customer service manager at Unanet. They can help you procure that and also get it set up, and we can help as well. And then we can also help you begin learning how to use it and how to use it best based on what the data you want to see and how you want to analyze it. So feel free to reach out to any one of us here at OAS, and we can help you get that ball rolling if you're interested in utilizing it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Paul and Courtney. Really nice demonstration. Like you mentioned, Paul, there's a lot to these tools. So it's a lot to cover in 1 hour. So again, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to email and we can answer them. And I'm just going to reshare my screen quickly.
Yeah, I will stop sharing so that you can get that.
There we go. So again, if you have any questions, just please feel free to reach out to myself and we can help get the answers to the questions for today's topic. Or if you want help setting up the data lake, we can do that as well. And there'll be a survey afterwards. So if you fill that out and you want information, you can just ask at that point as well. Our next Lunch and Learn meeting will be September 29th. And that we're going to talk about the pay when paid process in Unanet and how that's used, how it's beneficial, and some of the processes that go along with that. That's another nice tool that's built in. So we're going to have a demonstration and presentation on that as well on the 29th. So we look forward to any of that want to join us there. And again, if we can help, as we mentioned a few times today, if we can help, please just reach out to us. And we'd be more than happy to help with the Data Lake Power BI connection, but also anything Unanet related. So please feel free to reach out and use us however you see fit. But thank you again, Paul and Courtney, and thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.